Udoka is a former NBA player. He became the Boston Celtics head coach in 2021. His first year coaching them, they went to the finals and fell short to Steph Love and the Golden State Warriors. Don't feel bad because the Boston Celtics was ranked the #1 team to return to the NBA finals in this upcoming season. By the way, Udoka's longtime fiancee and mother of his child is Nia Long and her fine self. To be closer to Udoka, the Boston Celtics assigned her and her child a staff member who was tasked with aiding them in their move to Boston. Well, according to the Atlantic sham Sharania, Udoka made unwanted comments to the staff member. But why do you think that staff member reported Udoka?
Hey, what happened?
That staff member's husband, we'll call him Insecure, he was spying on the doorbell cam one day, and he overheard some craziness between his wife and Udoka, which revealed to him they were in a consensual relationship.
I want to lick the sweat from underneath your armpits, girl.
Ooh, yeah, baby. I love when you do that, papi.
She placed the blame solely on Udoka, so her husband wouldn't leave her. He told her to end it and didn't even engage Udoka.
Coward.
But you know she has to be sitting on some fuego, cause Udoka couldn't take no for an answer, so he spit some of that Nigerian honey in her ears, and it was over. That entanglement kept on weaving. Little did staff member know, Insecure didn't trust her, so he kept digging, and guess
What happened?
Insecure found a filthy text that I can't even show, cause YouTube will ban us. But that text contains the comments she claimed to her husband was unwanted. Sure, buddy, she didn't want to take that route, but Udoka couldn't get it through his knucklehead that affair was done with. Her husband with the real money caught her in the act and she wasn't willing to lose her marriage. Then why did he cheat on her husband? We'll get to that. According to the Atlantic sham Sharania, even after Udoka was questioned about the affair, the staffer continued to work with her. Matter of fact, Nia didn't find out about the affair until it was reported on ESPN.
Emotional damage.
Imagine that. She's dirty, but he's dirtier. Violating the team's policy got him suspended indefinitely for the 2022-2023 season. Hold up, enough of the drama. Let's jump right into Pink Book lessons.
The word accountability, okay? Accountability doesn't just go to Ime Udoka, okay? Accountability goes to the other people that played a part in that as well. Let me tell you another thing I didn't like. When they asked, is anybody else going to be punished? And they said no. One of these relationships that was had with Ime Udoka and one of these women, it was consensual, meaning that this woman actually played a part in it too. So my thing is, yes, Ime Udoka was wrong. We get that. His punishment, he deserved that, and whatever else follows, I hate it for him, but he put himself in this position.
Pause. Look at her. What's her problem? Like, you could tell it's obvious she's only thinking about what she's about to attack. Let's be clear how hot she is right now. She will fight Perkins on live TV.
But why are the other people getting left off the hook?
Well,
that's the
Kendrick,
problem that I have right now. Everybody got to be held accountable.
I think that we need to circle back to what Shanae said, is that there was a investigation that was conducted by an independent law firm here, and I think that transparency is what will rule the day here. And so without having all of the information, it is unfair and irresponsible of us to go and to speculate on that.
He's married, she's married, he's getting blamed, but we need more information before the woman gets her blame? Someone in the comments, please make that make sense.
I'm not speculating.
But what we have to go with here is the fact that an independent law firm came in, did this investigation, and the facts that they were presented, they came to the conclusion that Ime Udoka violated a policy that warranted a 1-year suspension, and I share your frustration with the lack of transparency while understanding that there is some things that they need to, from a legal perspective, keep private. But knowing all of that, understanding all of that, we have to come to the conclusion that whatever rule, the conduct that was broken on one side, it is not the same on the other side. I thank you for your perspective.
Why did ESPN hire her anyway? I'm sure she's only there for their diversity quota.
I take offense to that. Do you say the things you say because you believe them, or are you trying to say what you think men want to hear? Why is it when a black person is in a position of power, it has to be because of a quota or a handout? Malika Andrews comes off as an extreme feminist, so she obviously annoys me. But even though she irritates me, her type is needed. But I get what she's saying, it's just in an immature and lazy way of seeing things. She believes Udoka is in a more prominent position, so he should be punished because he has the power. And the staff member may have felt she had to cheat on her husband, so somehow it's Udoka's fault. Because somehow that means he's the one that pressured her into wanting that Nigerian meat. her fault. If not him, it was her husband's fault. My wife doesn't understand how a person can cheat on their spouse or even risk losing their job. The answer to that question is the reason I wouldn't want to have a fine female nanny or anything like that. If she's one of those that exudes sexy in all 6 senses, whether past or present, all it takes is for us to be at a point we hate each other. In that moment, if while bending over her eyes locked with mine in a seductive way, I won't say all guys will feel the same way, but most would. Once our mind give us an image of us thrashing said woman, we are not thinking about our spouse, child, or job. That 1% chance of us cheating can become 100% if the blood hits our penis before we've coached ourselves into knowing we need to do better. If you tell women different, just shut up. You sound stupid. You may be the exception, but 9.5 out of 10 men will not be loyal in that situation. Matter of fact, wise, pause this image and ask your husband's deaths. If y'all were at a bad place in the relationship and it was your fault, wifey, if this was y'all nanny and while you were in another continent, she jumped in the shower with him, will he turn her down if nobody would ever find out? If he doesn't say that's a hard one, but I'll have to think about that and never bring it up again, he more than likely just lied to you. Wives and husbands, do not let us put ourselves in certain situations. Are you kidding me? You agree with your spouse being close to a friend of the opposite sex you don't even really know like that. Whatever happens is your fault. A human can resist, but for so long. After a couple of swerves, I need to find out what you're sitting on. I don't know about women, but that's consistent amongst most men. So do your job and co-pilot, because you'll be pissed that you gave him or her trust and he or she spit in your face. But before we get to the Stephen A segment, I just want to say, you women is just as filthy as us men, and we know it.
And then they had Malika stumping all across ESPN defending the women. She got into a disagreement with Stephen A. Smith. Take a look.
And basically told the world, he's ours, but we ain't gonna use him.
And they didn't give parameters of what it would take to reinstate
They gave
him.
no parameters of what it would take for reinstatement. They didn't specify what punishment they gave him beyond suspending him for the year. Is he getting his salary for this upcoming season? Has it been cut in half? I told he's only getting about 50% of it. Has that been cut in half?
Characterized as a significant financial penalty.
So you've got that going on. And I'm going to say this again. It said in the numerous news reports, it was a consensual relationship that violated organizational policy. So only he is in violation of the company policy. The woman who elected to have a consensual relationship with him is not in violation. He gets to get mentioned and put on Front Street. We don't know who she is. What about the other women within the Celtics organization who have been victimized because wrong assumptions have been made by their involvement? If you knew exactly who it was, that would alleviate the concerns of all the other women who have had their names paraded out into the streets. What about them? You ain't thinking about that. So here we are, we're throwing him out to pasture. And again, Ime Udoka cannot be defended.
Yo, he clarified he is not dismissing Udoka's actions and agrees he should be held accountable.
His actions are his actions. Nobody fights for black coaches more than me. But I am telling you, a firing would have been warranted. Or you keep him. But to keep him, yet suspend him, by the way, not just suspend him, but for the suspension to be indefinite.
It's almost worse, like a lame duck status.
That's what you did. You ruined his career for the next few years.
If you feel he said anything wrong, please comment below before you continue the video, please. I sincerely want to know if he said something incorrectly. We men feel we are oftentimes misunderstood, even when we directly speak our mind, opposed to being passive.
He did it. He did his action. But
NBA reporter and host of NBA Today, our friend Malika Andrews. Malika, do you have us?
I've got you, Molly. Thank you for having me.
Look, she's already starting with the attitude. Molly asked if you got us. She made sure to say, I got you, Molly.
Yeah, thank you for being with us. And obviously you had the statement from Udoka that was given to you. What's your reaction now after hearing the press conference?
Well, Molly, thank you. If I could first start with this. Stephen A., with all due respect, this is not about pointing the finger. Stop.
She told Stephen A. to stop. Point the finger? Isn't that proof she wasn't listening?
What became apparent to me in this press conference is that we do not have all of the information here. And it was frustrating to me that the Celtics declined to elaborate or to give more specifics about what exactly the rule breaking was that led us to this point. So that, I just want to get that out of the way first. But to answer your question, Molly, I think what stood out to me, I think what stood out to me is that Brad Stevens he was upset. That's what stood out to me about what he termed rampant Twitter BS is the word that he used, that women were unfairly dragged into this within the Celtics organization. You could see that Brad Stevens was visibly upset about this. And I also found that to be gross and unnecessary, that folks were bringing in the names and the images of women that is just not a fact. That was purely speculation. And so to me, that is what stood out. But the Celtics as an organization could have done more, and short of doing more ahead of this yesterday, they could have owned that responsibility in this press conference. I understand that there were legal parameters that they had to operate within for everybody involved, and I appreciate the fact that they brought in outside counsel and did a thorough organization. And I think that that is something that was clearly necessary in this situation. But the fact that it was able to go on all day, the fact that we are sitting here debating whether somebody else should have been suspended or not, we are not here, Stephen A., to further blame women.
Accusations?
That is not why we are here.
Malika, she really has a problem with any woman being held accountable.
First of all, let me be very clear. I don't appreciate where you're going with that. I'm not blaming anybody but Ime Udoka. He deserves, the fact of the matter is, I've said he deserved to be fired if they were going to fire him. If you're not going to fire him, then don't fire him. My issue is all of this being publicized. The point that I'm trying to make is just like you're not mentioning. Excuse me.
Ignorant and not even listening.
I listen to you. You're the one telling me to stop on my show. It ain't happening. Okay, that's number one.
But when he's talking, she's being disrespectful and interrupting him.
Number two, I've already said he deserves to be fired, or he deserves to be there and handle it internally and privately. If you're not going to handle it privately, if you're going to publicize it in that fashion, then obviously it provokes everybody wanting to know, okay, well, who are the parties involved? When you have Amina Smith in Boston and other women pointing out the fact that there were women who were wrongly implicated in all of this, it's a disservice to them. I didn't come out with the report about a consensual relationship. I didn't come out with the report ahead of time leaking that they were going to suspend him for the year. They did that. And my point is, considering how pervasive this kind of stuff has existed in professional sports for many years, my whole point is that, make sure that you handle it in the same fashion it has always been handled. You could have fired him, and then we could have speculated till the cows come home, but he's gone. But to keep him there, keep him employed, but in the same breath, suspend him for a year, then also that year is indefinite. That is the issue that I have. Nobody's trying to protect Ime Udoka, and certainly nobody is trying to excoriate the women involved or anything like that. I'm not trying to attack anybody, and if anybody deserves to be attacked, it's Ime Udoka for putting himself in this position. I've made that very clear. I'm just talking about you got owners and everybody else. They know the kind of stuff that's going on. You didn't say anything about anybody else. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about them. They didn't say anything about everybody else all the other times this stuff has happened. But now when it comes to him, it's all over the place. That is my issue. That is my only issue.
And see, the part that I don't like is how Stephen A. Smith, he started backpedaling a little bit. No, stand on the same principle. The woman that's involved in this situation, she should suffer the same consequences. Suspend her, fire her, whatever you're gonna do. But instead, she's being protected when she violated the same code.
And Pink Book lessons, it would make no sense for them to fire the woman, since it would deter other women from sleeping around. Most men don't get opportunities like that, so when they get power, they want to keep their options open, even if it's with your wife.